On today's episode of Toyota Fanatics, we talk about what it's like having a 25-year-old daily driver, and the first thing you're gonna have to get used to is it takes a little bit longer to crank on the first start of the day than a new truck. But it always starts. So how the concept for this video started was I was driving yesterday and I was thinking to myself, it's kind of warm out, and I went to look and see what the temperature was and realized that the T100 has no outside temperature gauge. And then I started thinking, you know what? I've been driving the T100 for about 3 months now as my daily driver, and I love it. And again, I've told you guys I grew up with these kind of trucks, so for me it's kind of nostalgia, but there's definitely some things I've had to get used to driving the T100 over my new, well, it's a 2012, but my newer Tundra. We also are gonna go show you guys the T100's little baby brother. I spotted this thing a couple blocks over yesterday, and it's really cool. So I'm gonna show you guys that thing in a few, but let's jump into this. This is the 25-year-old vehicle we're talking about today. This is a quarter of a century old. You know, a quarter-century old F-150 just drove by a second ago. This thing sounded like it was inches from the grave. So it makes me really happy how awesome this Toyota truck is for being 25 years old. And this thing has a ton of miles too. I haven't disclosed to you guys how many miles are on this thing yet, but it is outrageous. And for it to look this good, drive this good, function this good with that many miles is just a testament to how awesome Toyotas are. These things are the best. So I told you guys, first crank of the day, a little bit longer than normal. Second thing is, you're driving a 25-year-old truck, you better get used to this. There is no keyless entry. Every time I walk up to the truck, I unlock it with a key. If we go over to the passenger door, you guys, this one actually requires a little bit of a wiggle as you turn it. If you just go to turn it, it feels like it wants to snap the key off. So I've learned that a little bit of a jiggle and you won't have any problems there. On to the next issue of driving a 25-year-old daily driver is we got manual windows, which I'm gonna say that these windows probably operate as good as they did 25 years ago. The only issue is this passenger side. Let's say there's a hot babe over there. Or something. It could even be a CHP, you never know. And they're like, hey, roll your window down. You actually have to lean over, which I got a pretty good reach going, but you have to lean over and roll that window down, which can definitely be a hassle. But with a truck like this, a 25-year-old truck, and I don't care if it's a Toyota or what it is, you're gonna want manual windows. A 25-year-old power window is no good. Now, power windows 25 years ago were not as good. The window regulators motors were not as good as they are today. So, you know, maybe in 25 years from now, you want to have power windows, you know, on your 25-year-old 2020 Toyota Tundra, but having a 95 in 2020 goes, you're going to want manual windows, unless you feel like replacing regulators and motors and dealing with a bunch of headaches. Let's jump into a segment I like to call Tailgate Talk. Today on Tailgate Talk, we're talking about our Toyota Tundra tailgate, which has a key so you can lock the tailgate, a backup camera, a giant handle with plenty of room even if you're wearing gloves, and most importantly, this thing has shocks, struts, dampeners. I don't know what they're called, but oh yeah. Oh! As we move over to the T100 tailgate for a comparison, first thing we notice is we just got this dinky little handle, which actually at the time was probably the biggest tailgate handle that Toyota had ever offered. So at the time they were doing good, but this little thing is dinky. We got no backup camera, no lock cylinder, no dampeners. Should I just let this thing go? Oh, I don't, oh, and so we got nothing there. The good thing is at the time, this was actually a pretty well done hinge system. This was kind of newer than what they were up to in recent years. So this tailgate's actually nice. There's a spot if you need to access the handle for any service work. But one thing that's strange about this truck, and I noticed it since the day I bought it, is if you just go to close it, you have to put this up and actually close it. And I actually have a buddy with an 04 Tacoma, you know, the old 95 through 04, and he said that his truck is the exact same way. Once you lower it, you can't just slam it back up. You have to hold the handle. But man, this tailgate, although nice and gets the job done, and I'm actually really impressed. Have you guys noticed that every Chevy truck that's more than 3 years old, the tailgate handle's missing, it's broken, it's trash? This is 25 years old. This one has never been serviced. And this truck, again, has a ton of miles on it. It's seen some work, and this tailgate's still hanging in there, but it's still missing creature comforts of a modern tailgate. Some of you guys probably thought I was showing the T100 engine bay, but no, we're back at the Tundra here. I want to show you guys is this thing right here. This is an ABS pump, and normally they're over here on a lot of vehicles, but Toyota decided to put it right here. And obviously you guys know ABS, anti-lock braking system. And what this does is this regulates the braking system, and it does a pulsating, which keeps brakes from locking up. Because what happens when brakes lock up? Well, when we jump over to the T100 and we start trying to find the ABS pump, we realize there is no ABS. This truck does not have ABS. Now, you could get ABS in a 95 T100. I believe it was one of the first years they offered it. I'll have to research that more. But that was only on the top of the line models. And you know what? I don't even think it was just on the top of the line models. I think it was option for 95. You know what? Great thing to have. I believe it was only for the rear wheels, which again on a pickup truck is fantastic to have, but this truck does not have ABS.
Plenty of room for an option this truck needs right now. Anti-lock brakes. That was the first try, and this is the second run, doing my best to modulate the brakes. We strongly recommend the $1,000 anti-lock option. Without it, 60 to 0 is an exciting and lengthy 191 feet.
So if you are absolutely flying down the freeway in a rainstorm and you slam on those brakes, you are gonna eat it. So you gotta be a little careful. These are not the brakes that are on my Tundra. It's a whole different braking system. You gotta take that into consideration when driving a 25-year-old truck. And our next topic, which this is an interesting one, is just how small this truck is inside. And you know what? We're gonna revisit this topic shortly because I wanna talk to you guys about something. When I bought this truck, I go, this thing is just tiny inside. I don't even know how I'm gonna fit in there. And I think that's because I have a misconception about the size of this truck. So we're gonna jump back to this later, but old trucks, 25-year-old, especially Toyotas, they're not gonna be roomy. There is air conditioning, and we are super fortunate to have air conditioning, and this air conditioning works perfectly. See, works very well in here. I wish you guys could feel it. It is blowing ice cold, but it is still a very, very weak opponent of the Tundra. The Tundra has vents that run to the back seat. It has a much more powerful air conditioning system. Seriously, keep ice cream cold. But this vehicle, you know what? It'll blow cold air at you. Not gonna keep the entire cab icy cold. Super nice to have. I'm telling you guys, this is ice cold AC, but it just blows to about right here. And then it just kind of goes away. It's hard for me to explain, but I just think air conditioning in quarter-century old vehicles is not as good as it is in modern vehicles. Can you believe me, you guys? I actually have air conditioning and I'm complaining that it's not good enough. You know how many old lifted Toyota trucks have no air conditioning whatsoever, and I have it and I'm complaining?
You are one pathetic loser.
Next subject of this video is lighting. Let's talk lighting. Now, yes, I could switch out everything for LEDs in this vehicle, but let's just talk about how it came. A 25-year-old truck, 25-year-old vehicle, 25-year-old daily driver does not have good lighting. They did not have any good lighting in 95. This thing actually has a replaceable H4 bulb. So all the way up to 1994, as far as Toyota pickups go, they have the conventional glass headlight housing where you take out the whole housing and you can't change the bulb. So this is a pretty big deal that you can change the bulb. This was a modern touch at the time that you could change out. I believe that these type of bulbs with a replaceable bulb provided much better lighting than a sealed unit. But either way, the headlights are terrible on this thing. The interior lights are terrible. There's no LEDs. There is no cool light shows going on. You guys have seen the new Ford Explorers, Mustangs, all that stuff. There's LED accent lighting, LEDs everywhere. This thing has nothing. The cab is this horrible hazy yellow color at night from the dim light. The headlights are terrible. I decided to keep it original and not change out any bulbs on the vehicle except for two, and those two bulbs are the license plate light. They just look so much better than the nasty little yellow orangish bulbs that were their factory. But lighting is gonna suffer on an older vehicle, and I am a sucker for new lighting. This Tundra right here has some incredible headlights, tail, everything. This thing is just fantastic as far as lighting goes. I wish you guys could have seen it, but the LEDs, they come on super slow as you open the door, and when you slam the door, 10 seconds later, they slowly fade away. It is very warming and welcoming. This truck has none of that. And another thing you're gonna have to get used to driving a 25-year-old vehicle is the smells. Now, I've mentioned before, this thing actually has an incredible old classic Toyota truck smell. Yes, there is a real thing as an old Toyota 4x4 smell. It is a wonderful thing. I wish they made an air freshener with it. I would throw it in the Tundra, but this thing definitely has a very unique smell. It does not smell like a new vehicle by any means. I love it, but maybe not everybody will. All right, you guys, let's talk about this thing right here. A huge airbag person, huge airbag enthusiast. Don't disregard the effectiveness and the ability of this thing to save your life. Now, not this one, because this is the first year Toyota ever offered an airbag in any truck or SUV. Like I've said before, I don't know if this airbag works. Vehicle manufacturers only guarantee airbags for 10 years. After 10 years, if they don't work, it is not the manufacturer's fault. There is a canister that has some explosive device in it that blows up the airbag, inflates it, and how long, if we were talking about a GM or a Ford product here, you guys wouldn't be surprised, if it didn't work in 10 years, but when I say that it might not work in a Toyota, it's like, well, how could they sell you an airbag that doesn't work? No, it's just that there's pressurized stuff going on there, and there's a chance that it just might not last the 10 years. So I'm not sure about this airbag, but I don't see why this airbag wouldn't work. I don't see why it would work. Who knows? But this vehicle has an airbag which is very unique to driving an old lifted Toyota pickup truck. You're not going to find them before 95. As a matter of fact, the 4Runner did not have an airbag for 95. 96 is the first year for an airbag. I believe this is a Generation 1 airbag. A few years later, they changed a bunch of things. And airbags now, 25 years later, are amazing. And there's side curtains, knee airbags. There is so many airbags in that Tundra right there. It is crazy. But this truck, one airbag, no passenger side airbag. So if you guys are going to drive a 25-year-old daily driver, you're going to want to be in the driver's seat. The passenger is just going to whack their head on the dashboard right there. So make sure you end up on the driver's side. I think airbags are important. If you can get one, get one. This truck doesn't even have those cool little things inside to move around the mirrors. You actually have to reach outside. You actually have to reach outside and move this mirror around by yourself. How you're supposed to do the passenger side, I'll never know. That is like a two-person job right there. So, man, that screams 25 years old. All right, so I think that's gonna cover most of it. I've gone over, the most important things you're gonna run into driving a 25-year-old daily driver, but are there any pluses? Yeah, you're darn right there's some pluses. Let me show you this. So I don't understand this. Besides being a huge airbag enthusiast, I'm also a locking gas door enthusiast. I love vehicles where you pull the little lever and it locks it from the inside. Why would they ever? So this is something I've never understood, is you can just walk up to a vehicle, put something in the gas tank and leave that thing completely immobilized. Why wouldn't they give you a little protection here? By the way, this is like a plastic gas door. But I ended up putting a locking gas cap on this thing. I highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna say that was the first mod that I did to this entire vehicle. I would never just have an open gas cap. My wife's Sequoia, you have to pop it from the inside, but I absolutely hate that about my Tundra, and the T100 is killing it on the gas door security. A little ugly because there's like an actual lock mechanism on it, but I mean, does it get any better than this? It's the same key for the ignition. You just kind of put the tip in there.
Just the tip.
A little bit, and you're good. This way you don't have to mess with a key for the gas cap. The gas cap sits on here. And when you're done, you don't even have to put the key back in. It just closes on its own. Toyota, you are a genius. Whoever designed this 25 years ago must not work there anymore, because why would they not put that on the Tundra? They could definitely come up with something better. Your gas tank is secure right here. Shame on you, Tundra. So I mentioned to you guys earlier that I was out exploring my hood the other day and I came across this Toyota truck that I want really bad. See it right there? Oh, it's like my T100's little brother. All right, let's go check it out. Of course, there's a diesel truck behind me idling. Of course. Look at this thing, you guys. This is the T100's little bro right here. Look at this. So we know that it's 92 or newer because it has the Toyota badge right there. Before 92, it just said Toyota, and you can also tell pre-92s because it has a little bolts on the front bumper right there. That's what I always look for. So we know this is a 92 3.4. What I really like about this thing is we got a 4-inch lift going on, and it's a trip because I will show you guys clips back and forth on the T100, but this little cross member right here is tiny compared to the T100. And that's one thing I read about these lifts, is that they fit Toyota trucks and they fit T100s. It's the same lift, except just the cross members are different because the T100 is so much wider. We got the steering stabilizer. Somebody painted those shocks red at some point, but yeah, the CV axles are there. This thing is actually running a 31-10-5 on a 15 by, at least I think it's a 15. Yeah, it's a 15. So we got a 15 by 10, same offset. I think it's pretty much the exact same wheel as the T100, but we got a 31-inch tire. These are the manual hubs that I'm telling you guys I want so bad. So basically exact same suspension as the T100. Pretty much everything's the same, but the reason why I'm here, you guys, the reason why I'm showing you this is I was telling you guys earlier that the T100 is so tiny, and as you guys can see right here, that is not the case. You know what? I'm gonna have to find a better way to show you guys how small this truck is, but it is tiny inside. Tiny. Maybe you and another person who's small, and maybe a backpack in between you, but that is it. And the fact that the T100 can accommodate 3 people in the front, 2 people in the back, backpacks. I've gone I've gone on Costco runs in this thing, loaded up the cab. It really makes me realize now I'm used to the Tundra. So compared to the Tundra, the T100 is tiny. Compared to the T100, this thing right here is super tiny. But I love this truck. Now we definitely got some body damage. Look at, I wonder if that's what hit that. No, I don't know, but it looks like we got some Bondo issues here. I definitely think we got some Bondo issues going on here. I wouldn't care. I would buy this thing at a heavily discounted price because of the bed damage. I think slapping a new bed on there would be pretty easy. It's really clean underneath. Doesn't look like it's been wheeled to death too much. Looks like we got more Bondo. You guys, is this Bondo right here, or is that just, is this Bondo right here? Is just this the thickest paint in history cracking off? This thing looks like, you know what's a trip is these are only 31s and they stick out so far. I got 33s and they don't stick out that far, but I think it's because I have the fender flares on there. I really like how far that sticks out. Guy just walked up to me right now. I was all excited thinking it was the owner. I was gonna tell him, hey, I'm gonna buy this thing from you, but I mean, look at the spider webs right here, you guys. This thing has not moved. Look at that, is a dead giveaway of a nasty repaint right there. Man, this side right here has seen some, it's seen some trauma. And you know, not something else I noticed, you guys. Look at the window on this side is an Easy Eye. And when you come over to the driver's side here, we have a factory Toyota. So yeah, something very traumatic happened to this passenger side over here. This side, yeah, you could tell the bed side's been trashed. The door's kind of worked. The fender looks okay. I don't know, you know, on an old truck like this, you'd have to really check out how bad it is. But you know, if I could get this thing for dirt cheap and clean it up, you know, it's a trip. I've never really like looked around at this close. I've just driven by it a couple times and it totally caught my eye. It literally is just so similar as the T100. But yeah, so this again shows me how clean the T100 is. The T100 has no intense body damage, all original glass. Yeah, that's a bummer right there, but I would love to take this thing home right now, take the camper shell off, start just cleaning it up. Got the interior, just start cleaning it up and see what's going on with it. I really like it. Interesting that it has the chrome mirrors. Those are definitely not from this thing. 4Runner or an SR5 Toyota truck from the same era. So I just took a look inside. It says 174,000 miles. And as we know, it has to have the 22 RE because, well, that's not true. They put the V6, that 3-liter, that horrible 3-liter. They put that in a few of them, but I'm getting the 4-cylinder vibe from this thing, that's for sure. And like I mentioned earlier, these are those sealed beam headlights that was on everything and most Toyotas till about 95. Super poor headlight quality. So even though I was bashing on the T100s earlier, saying how terrible they were, they're light years ahead of these things. Anyways, let's say goodbye to this old thing and head back to the T100. Wow, look how nice the T100 is. You know, every time I'm feeling like the T100 isn't that nice, I should just come check that truck out, huh?